not making policy gains right now. Women in Syria are not making policy gains right now. Women in Yemen are not making policy gains right now. But overall, globally, women are through this access. So in the last 10 years, women, we've gone from 61 million women who had no access to education to only 35 million women
That's
who
amazing.
have no access to education in 10 years, right? We've halved that gap. And that is, an enormous thing. So, there are more and more countries that are outlawing spousal rape, right? Like it's a trend that's sweeping the world, right? Like,
I mean, I wish that our audience could see like me rolling my eyes about how this is even a thing.
Yeah, right. So now there are only 32 countries where spousal rape is okay. And we're now at a staggering fact that 2/3 of all countries have outlawed domestic violence. Now let's remember that 33% of countries in the world still have no laws on the books that say it is not okay to violently assault your wife, right? Yeah, I guess it felt like a mixed bag, right? Like I feel after, 20 years of thinking about this and kind of seeing what's going on, I feel more hopeful for women, and the status of women is, kind of better than it's ever been in a lot of ways. And yet we still see, these kind of conditions. And it just made me really think, it was terribly sad to see the status of women globally and to understand that we are globally oppressed under this patriarchal system, right? And there are no true matriarchies. And you kind of wonder, are men and women really born equally? Is there a case to be made for men's dominance, right? And then you think about why women are in a disadvantaged position. And it's because it's physical and sexual violence is the way that women are held down, right? And so when you think about that, you're like, oh no, it's not just some kind of primacy of guys, right? It's a systemic, violent oppression of women that's going on. So I think reading up on the status of women in the world was enormously hopeful to me, enormously depressing to me, but again, helped me reconnect to a larger understanding of the place that I'm in.
I'll post the link to that in the show notes so that people can start reading, hunker down, and figure out what they can do both locally and globally. Also, support your local female candidates for stuff. Don't let creepy dudes who inappropriately smell people's hair become the de facto leaders of your parties and your local elections.
Right. And they're like, but he does it to men too. And you're like, there's no such thing as reverse sexism. It doesn't have the same effect.
It doesn't matter that he does it to men because it's creepy, period.
Right? Unwanted touching. No.
I mean, the hair stroking, little girls whose hair he's stroking. I get he's totally doing it as a paternalistic thing, but it's a paternalistic thing. And so therefore it is part of this patriarchal control over women that he is exerting, and he just doesn't get it.
Yeah. And it's not the same when he does it to little boys as when he does it to little girls. There's just a different entry point for the effects of those behaviors.
Well, and not only that, the language that goes all around with it. He's like, oh, you better lock the doors when this one gets older. You're going to be fighting them back. You know what? Stop sexualizing women.
Seriously.
Stop it.
Just kids, man. They're below the age of consent. Don't do that.
Know. Well, yeah. Stop sexualizing kids, period. I don't care. But stop just using women as sexual objects. We're a hell of a lot more than that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation about what's going on today and how we can fight the power. Like I said, the information will be in the show notes. If you want to follow Amy on Twitter because she's hilarious. Amy, what's your Twitter handle?
It's at Amy Dreyer, AMYDRAYER. So simple.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us. If you want to follow us online, we're available at shewhopersisted.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Insta. You can find us. Just search for She Who Persisted. Thank you and stay nasty. Bye.